Hi, I'm josephrlewis, and I write adventures. I also used to write novels. And back in my novel writing days, I would hang out with other writers, and we would talk about writer stuff, and we'd give each other writer advice. And one piece of writer advice that we would kick around sometimes are things like, kill your darlings. This is a piece of advice I hear a lot and see a lot still. And I want to talk a little bit about it, about what it means, about why people tell you to kill your darlings, and why I don't think it's very good advice. So, what are darlings? First off, what is not a darling? We're not talking about the main idea of your adventure. We're not talking about your core thesis. We're not talking about your genre, your main character, your big bad, your plot, the core stuff. We're not talking about your core stuff. Darlings are all of the little things that can be sprinkled throughout your adventure. They might be certain types of NPCs, they could be certain types of rooms, certain creatures, certain elements of your writing style. But obviously, not all rooms and not all NPCs. Darlings are specifically things in your adventure that don't need to be there. Things that don't serve the core of the adventure. Things that are there kind of just because you like them and you wanted them to be there. So why would we want to kill our darlings, all these little elements that we like so much? Well, we would get rid of them. We would edit them out because they don't support the core of the work. They distract the players. They muddy the themes or the genres. They introduce a bit of confusion or discomfort, maybe in the GM, maybe in the players, who knows. So we're told to kill them, to edit them out, to make our work streamlined and focused squarely on the core idea, the main vision of whatever our writing is. In this case, of course, we're talking about adventures. I myself have given advice sort of like this. If you remember from earlier videos, you should figure out the vision for your adventure, and then try to do that one thing, serve that vision very well. And if you have other ideas, maybe save them off to the side for another time for a future adventure. It's reasonable advice. It sounds reasonable, doesn't it? And if you're a new writer, or a young writer, or just an inexperienced writer, then sure, having some advice or guidelines like this can be helpful when you're figuring out how to start projects and how to complete projects, how to figure out your design style and your writing style. This is helpful to give you some guidance to a point. But I believe that the danger in killing your darlings is that you're killing all of those little details and elements that make your writing unique and that makes it uniquely yours. Maybe you like having empty rooms to let the dungeon breathe. Maybe you like breaking the tension of a serious situation with a funny NPC. Maybe you like putting little Easter eggs throughout your dungeon just to amuse yourself and to amuse the kinds of players who are like you and who find them, to reward them for being like you. Maybe you like putting just a weird little freak in your dungeon who just likes being there. He's just part of the scenery. He doesn't need to be there. He's not core, he's not integral, but he's just a fun little guy, and he makes you smile. Should we really have to get rid of all of these delightful little bits of nonsense, these personal touches, just because they don't serve the core vision? I don't think so. What are some more examples of darlings in dungeons? Well, let's look at some of mine. In Let's Slay a Dragon, lots of things are core. The dragon and its kobold minions are very much core. But there are lots of things in there just because I thought they were neat. There's a shape-shifting witch. Doesn't care about the dragon. She doesn't need to be there, but I think witches are fun. There's a troll who just wants to rip people's heads off. Again, doesn't need to be there, but the scene made me smile. In Imperial Vault 19, which is about a witch and a stolen baby, there's a shape-shifting bronze construct. And it's there just because I wanted to put a transformer in a dungeon. It barely has anything to do with the villain or the plot, but I thought it was cool. In Witches of Frostwick, there are magic eyeballs that you can attach to magic weapons to give them magical abilities, just because I want to do a callback to Final Fantasy VII's materia system. Again, has almost nothing to do with the witches and the plot, but I thought it was cool. In lovely Jade Necropolis, there's a cult of blind, jackal-headed creatures who are worshipping a giant worm. And they are there because I wanted to do a call-out to a very specific Clark Ashton Smith short story that I liked. Again, they have nothing to do with the necromancers. It says so in the text, but I just thought it was cool. And we can go all the way back to my earlier stuff, too. Here's Raiding the Obsidian Keep. This has a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reference hidden in it. Go see if you can find it. Again, serves no purpose, but it makes me smile. I could go on, but I think you get the point at this point. My adventures don't need any of these elements to work or make sense, but I think my works are more rich and unique and complex and memorable for having all this weird nonsense in them. And this idea of darlings isn't just about concrete elements in your dungeon setting. It can also extend to the way in which you write. It can extend to your writing style. So, for example, maybe you like to introduce an NPC with just a few brief words, like John the blacksmith, period. Tall, lean, exhausted, grim, period. And that's it. You can absolutely give that in your document. That's the way you like to write. People who like to play your adventures will gravitate towards that style. Or maybe you prefer to introduce an NPC with a snippet of dialogue to give a sense of who they are. You there! I don't hear any coin in your purse, and I don't work for free. So show me the gold or show me your backside. And if you say one word that wastes my time, I'll put your head on my anvil and turn it into strawberry jam. That's a lot more words, but it also gives you a sense of the character, and certain types of GMs and certain types of players will gravitate towards that if that's what they like. Remember, I'm writing adventures for ttrpgs. I'm competing for attention, not just with everyone on the planet who is also writing, which I hope includes you, but I'm also competing with every adventure that's ever been written in the past. It's the digital era. Almost nothing ever goes out of print anymore. So if ever there was a time to be unique or weird or cute or funny or to indulge in beautiful, arcane, or disturbing language, it's now. If you're going to spend the next month or year of your life creating something, do you want it to be exactly like everyone else's product, their mass-marketed adventures, or do you want it to be uniquely yours? Do you want it to be ruthlessly edited down to remove all of those precious darlings? Or do you want it to be weird? Do you want it to be unique? Do you want it to be memorable? And you can't tell me that weird, dense, overwritten, confusing self-indulgence doesn't have an audience or can't find an audience. Of course it does. I have a whole shelf full of RPG books right here that are crammed to the gills with someone's darlings. Do they appeal to everyone? No, of course not. But they do appeal to some people. They find their fans. Some people want exactly what this nonsense is on my shelf. I obviously did. I bought it. So, again, there's no reason to not be you. Your people are out there. They'll find you and you'll find them. I love my darlings. They're mine. They make my writing mine. And if I were to kill all my darlings, strip out all the pointless hidden rooms, silly NPCs, weird magic items, references to 1980s cartoons, then my adventures would look like everyone else's. They'd be shaped like everyone else's. They would read like everyone else's. And there'd really be no point in me taking the time and effort to write them. And when I put my text into layout, and I discover at the bottom of a column that there's some white space down there, you can be absolutely sure that I'm going to cram more nonsense into that white space, and it is not going to serve the plot or be meaningful to the core of my vision. It's just going to be more weird little stuff that I think is fun, because I want you guys to have fun at the table. So sure, if you're a bad writer, then killing your darlings may make your writing look less bad, because it's been more streamlined and there's less of it. But I don't think that should be anyone's goal. I think a writer's goal should be, number one, to figure out what sort of writer you are, or that you want to be. Number two, make peace with whatever writer you are or want to be. You need to acknowledge that you are unique, and the world is complex, and some people will absolutely love what it is you do, and some people, or a lot of people, will not love what it is you do, and you may get negative feedback from those people, and you need to be prepared for that, and just say that I am not for them, they are not for me. I need to find my people, find my audience, and just be myself and accept that that's not for everyone. I'm not for everyone. I've had to accept that myself many times, and that's okay. And then number three, go out there and make stuff that is inscrutably, bizarrely, uniquely, weirdly, only yours, that only you could have madly scribbled. And that's why I think you should not kill your darlings. You should be a good writer. You should learn how to write well and clearly, and to find your audience and interact with them and take constructive feedback and learn over time. But try not to kill your darlings. That's all my advice for today, so good luck out there. If you like this video and you'd like to get more or get them earlier, or see some of my fiction or get other tools for writing your adventures, then please check out my Patreon. Link in the notes below.